Okay, let's consider here the hydrostatic force due to fluid on a plane surfaces. So as far as fluid is considered, we'll divide into two types. One is gas and one is liquid. As far as the gas is considered, if any surface is subjected to the gas, then the gas is always exert uniform pressure. In the case of gas, do not use this equation, that is the pressure equal to rho gh. This is not valid. This is valid for liquid. Whereas the pressure is equal to rho multiplied by R multiplied by T. This is valid for gases. Suppose we have a tank here, then the pressure will not change with respect to height because it is not a liquid, it is a gases. What matters here, what is the temperature of this vessel, that is the temperature of the gas. So anywhere at any level the pressure is remain constant, that is a uniform pressure distribution. So if I want to show the pressure here, it has the same arrow. This is the fundamental difference between the definition of pressure in the case of gas and in the case of liquid. So suppose we have this wall here, since the pressure is acting uniform, is the same concept of UDL, and therefore this pressure multiplied by this area will be our hydrostatic force. So simply this time the hydrostatic force will be pressure multiplied by area. Now since it's a UDL, the centroid of this pressure will be equal to, that is the centroid of this area is here where the hydrostatic force will act. This discussion is applicable for gas only. But if it is subjected to the liquid, then our pressure is given by rho gh. Whereas in the case of gas, the pressure is remain constant. That idea already discussed. Now let's discuss the idea about the liquid. Since the pressure is strong function of H, so what you observe here is that on the plane surface here, the pressure is going to vary. As the H will going to increase, the pressure will also going to increase. So as the pressure is going to change here, what you have to do here, we have to calculate the total hydrostatic force considering here one element, and you have to use the method of integration. Whenever we have a variation, we have to always use the method of integration. So method of integration says that you compute here the elemental force on one elemental area equal to dA, let it is at height equal to h, so corresponding the pressure will be equal to rho gh multiplied by this area, that will be the hydrostatic force on this element. And then once you know the hydrostatic force on one element, do the integration over the entire area. So if you do the integration over the entire area, integral of df equal to integral of rho gh dA. Now here rho and g is assumed to be constant, so we left here h into dA. Now using the standard definition of centroid, we have x bar is equal to integral of x dA by dA. Using the same copy, we can write here integral h dA equal to h bar into a. Almost same definition here. So this integral h dA can be replaced as h bar multiplied by area. Now here h bar is nothing but the distance of centroid below the free surface. Now in this type of problem, you have to be very specific about the geometry and the location of centroid. What we are interested here, that this plane is making an angle equal to theta. Once we know this angle theta, or they will give this angle, your job is to locate the value of g. To locate the centroid of the plane figure, you have to always locate it on true shape. That is, this one is true shape and this one is called as edge view. Once you locate on true shape, then project this centroid on the edge view. Project the centroid on the edge view. Once you project it on the edge view, then measure this distance by doing the little calculation of geometry. In that case, measure the distance between the CG on the edge view from the free surface level. Once you successfully able to measure the h bar, then use the formula F equal to rho g into h bar into area. Since the hydrostatic force is continuously vary for all depth, we have to locate the centroid position using this equation, which is SCP equal to IXO into sine square theta divided by AH bar plus H bar. So remember this equation in the case of plane surfaces. If the plane makes an angle equal to theta, then SCP, that is the location of center of pressure, where the center of pressure is that point where the resultant force will act. That depth from the free surface level is equal to the distance of centroid from the free surface plus this extra term, that is positive quantity here. Moment of inertia is positive, square of any term is positive, AH bar is also positive. So from this we can conclude here that SCP is greater than H bar. That is this quantity is always positive quantity, and this will be give you difference between the 2 points. One is center of pressure and one is h bar. So suppose we are given a figure here. This one is a centroid, and this height equal to here on the edge view here is to locate here. Then you have to locate this point equal to G, measure this height, that will be equal to h bar. Then you can locate here center of pressure. You have to project it on this line here. So this one is the center of pressure. So this vertical height you can measure from free surface, that is called as SCP. The difference between h bar and SCP is given by this term, which is IXO into sine square theta divided by AH bar. If we extend this line, it makes an angle equal to theta. This one is called as edge view. This one is called as true shape. So normally, if we have an angle equal to theta, then it is always concluded that SCP is greater than h bar, because this one is sine theta here. But if we have theta equal to 0, then we have plane is horizontal. And if the plane is horizontal, in that case the sine theta will vanish, and we have SCP will be equal to h bar. But for any angle other than 0, SCP is always greater than h bar. Secondly, as the depth of immersion will go on increasing, the denominator will go on increasing. Because of this, this total value will going to decrease, and SCP will come closer to h bar. Suppose we are given a composite plate here. So as per your convenience, we'll divide this plate into two parts. So as such, there is no rule. I have divided one plate equal to ABCD, second plate equal to CEGF. What we can do, we can locate the centroid of ABCD. So this height is given as 1.5, 2 and 1. So as I told you that this one is a true shape. So this one is edge view. So edge view of this one is only this one here. So this portion is A and this portion is C. Second step is that project this centroid here, that equal to G. Now since it's a rectangle, you have to measure this height. 2 by 2 is equal to 1. Third case, measure this from free surface. So it is 1.5 plus 1. So we have h1 equal to 1.5, 2 by 2 equal to 2.5 meter. Then to measure the centroid of this, draw the edge view. This height equal to 1 meter. Next, project this centroid on edge view. Measure the distance of this centroid from free surface, that is from free surface. So this vertical distance consists of 1.5 plus 2 plus half of 1, that is 1.5 plus 2 plus 1 by 4. So we have successfully measured h1 and h2. So total force is consist of F1 plus F2. Out of that, rho g is common, and therefore we have h1a1 plus h2a2, that is rho g h1a1 plus rho g h2a2, and we can calculate total force. Now we want to calculate the hydrostatic force on curved surface. Whenever we have a curved surface, you have to compute two forces. One is the horizontal component and one is vertical component. Let's assume here that we have a gate here. So this one is gate here, and this one is side wall. And let's assume here we have a column equal to h. Now consider here only this surface. So if I consider here this surface here, any irregular shape we can take. In that case, if I want to show the pressure is acting perpendicular to it. So this one is resultant hydrostatic force. This resultant hydrostatic force we can calculate in two parts. First, we resolve this into two components. One is horizontal component and one is vertical component. So we can very well calculate the horizontal component and we can very well calculate vertical component. To calculate the horizontal component, you have to see this area from this side. So project this area. So if you project this, you will get a vertical plate like this one, and you will get FH. So to calculate FH, we have a same idea, that equal to rho multiplied by G multiplied by h bar multiplied by area. H bar is the distance of centroid on the projected area from free surface level. Second, you have to calculate FV. FV is acting here because of this liquid columns. So each and every weight here is going to act in a vertically downward direction. So there are number of prisms here. So this time we have FV will be equal to weight of liquid above the gate. So we know FH, we know FV. Finally, to find out the resultant force, we simply apply the Pythagoras theorem. That is under root of Fh square plus under root of Fv square. Now this is a situation when we have a two-dimensional figure, that is a plane figure. Now this time the liquid is present above the gate and therefore the direction is shown like this one. But if the liquid is present below this, the calculation procedure will remain same. Only thing that if this pressure is acting like this, then horizontal force will act in this direction and the vertical force will act in a upward direction. So if this one is an imaginary liquid present here, this one is real liquid present here. If we have real liquid present, the hydrostatic force will act on this side. This one is imaginary liquid, means that so this will push it upward and therefore the vertical force is upward. So whenever we have a plane figure, calculation procedure remains same, but if the real liquid is present, Fe will act downward, and if the imaginary liquid is present, then Fe will act upward. But our figure is three-dimensional figure. So if we have a figure is three-dimensional, that is we have a sphere or we have a cylinder is inserted. When I say plane figure, means we have a plate is inserted. Now it is a three-dimensional figure. In that case, we have to apply the buoyancy principle, and this time we have the vertical force will be same as the buoyancy force, which is same as rho multiplied by g multiplied by volume displaced. So you have to calculate here how much volume displaced. Whatever the volume displaced is there, you have to multiply by rho and g. That is the vertical force, that is the buoyancy force. So this is the difference between two-dimensional and three-dimensional. Suppose I have here a quarter circle plate of certain length like this one. So this one is two-dimensional figure. So this force will act on this one. So this force is composed in two fashion. One is horizontal and one is vertical. So when you say horizontal, you have to look from this side. So when you look from this side, in that case, this point will locate here and this point will come here. So you will get a rectangular plate like this one. So in that case, you have to first locate the centroid. We have a radius is given as here 20. So we have a height equal to 20. And this one is the edge view here. I have shown here edge view. Locate the G point, which is exactly equal to half of it, that equal to 10 meter. Center of pressure in this case for a rectangular is standard is 2 by 3 into 20, that we can locate. And to calculate FH here, we have the formula is rho g h bar into area. H bar you have to put as 10. Now next question is vertical force. So how much liquid is here? So this cross section we know and the length is known. So you have to calculate here volume. So this cross section is 1 by 4 because it is a quarter circle. Pi into r square is a circle radius. 1/4 of each one is a quarter circle, and we have a width equal to 50 in this numerical. So we can calculate volume. Volume multiplied by rho g will be here buoyant force. Now this time the liquid is present on the below this. So hydrostatic force is basically acting from this side. So vertical component is upward. Once we know FH and FE, we can calculate FR. In the static, we are coming to three-dimensional now. Consider here a body of density equal to rho m and a surrounding liquid has a density equal to rho. Since it's a three-dimensional body, we'll consider here a prism, a square prism of height equal to dA. This time we want to know what is the total upward force acting. So this figure and just now what a discussion is a case of hydrostatic figure, but only case is of three-dimensional. So this surface is the horizontal surface. So pressure on this point is pressure is equal to rho into G into H1. Similarly, we have bottom plane. So pressure is acting here upward. That will be rho into G into H2. So if I take this element here, we have the downward force acting is rho multiplied by G multiplied by H1 multiplied by dA. And we have upward force is rho into G into H2 into dA. Clearly here, the height H2 is more as compared to H1, so downward force is more. That is dF2 is greater than dF1. So if we compute for one element, then we can do this calculation for entire body. So net upward force will be dF2 minus dF1 will be same as rho g multiplied by H2 minus H1. But what you observed here is that H2 minus H1 is nothing but H. So we'll get H multiplied by dA, and H multiplied by dA is nothing but volume of this prism. So it is written as dV. So dV is volume of prism. So if we integrate this, rho g remain constant. Integral of dV will be equal to V. That V is called as V displaced, and this one is idea about the buoyant force. So buoyant force will be same as rho multiplied by G multiplied by V displaced. That is the weight of liquid displaced. According to the Archimedes principle, the body will float only when the buoyant force will be equal to the weight. If the weight is more than the buoyant force, then the body will sink. And if the buoyant force for entire body is more than the weight, it will be partially submerged. That is, some part will protrude above the free surface. So this one is the example of a partially submerged body. This time here, this portion here shown below the free surface is a volume displaced, and the total volume is equal to V. So the total volume V here is more than the volume displaced. That is case of the partially submerged body. And the second case is that this one is fully submerged body, if it is entirely lying. When it is fully submerged, in that case we have V is equal to same as V displaced. The point through which the weight will act is called as center of gravity, and point through which the buoyant force will pass with the center of buoyancy here. As far as the complete volume is considered, you have to locate G, and the center of buoyancy is nothing but the center of the volume displaced, that is this portion. So that centroid is different. So weight will act to the G and the buoyant force will pass through the B. As per the Archimedes principle, for a partially submerged body or for fully submerged body, the weight must equal to FB. So this situation is possible if the density of the material is less than the density of liquid, say for example plastic, or say for example wood. And this one is fully submerged body. Fully submerged body is an example of balloon. What we are interested in the buoyancy is the stability criteria. That suppose we have given a ship here and a certain load will move. In that case, the ship should not sink. So whenever the load will move, internally some action will take place and the body will try to come back to the original position. That is called as the stable equilibrium. So in the case of stable, the original position is restored. In the unstable, the body will overturn, and in neutral, the body will remain at a new position. So what we are interested in, stable, not in unstable and neither in neutral. So initially, if you are shown this cross section, which is initial position, before the deck load will move, we have this section here is the volume displaced, and correspondingly we can show here the buoyant force. Here is the buoyant force, and this one is center of buoyancy. If this load will move, the cross section will change here. Initially we have this cross section, now we have the new cross section is like this. Now the cross sectional area is changed, the new center of buoyancy has been changed. So this time the buoyant force will pass through new center of buoyancy. I will use this figure as a line diagram now. G is the center of buoyancy, G is the center of gravity, B is the original center of buoyancy, B1 is the new center of buoyancy. If load is moved, in the external couple will act. In that case, the body will try to come back to the original position. So because of this, we have the load is W is acting in a downward direction. Buoyant force will act through the FB. These two forces are equal in magnitude according to the Archimedes. So this couple and these two parallel forces will develop a couple. So sense of this couple is clockwise. This couple and this couple is same direction. So body will never come back to the original position. So this one is the condition become unstable. In the case of unstable, so M is lying below G. But suppose we have the M is lying above G. So let's show here the meta center. This one is G. This one is original center of buoyancy. This one is new center of buoyancy. This one is external couple. The weight will act vertically downward. Buoyant force will act vertically upward. These two forces are equal, so it will going to develop a couple like this. So this one is called as the restoring couple, and this time the body will come back to the original position. This one is called as stable equilibrium. So if M is lying above G, it is called as stable. If M is lying below G, it will be called as unstable. So this one is a case representing the stable, that is M is above G. This time Gm is taken as positive, and this time the Gm is taken as negative. And the third condition is that we have Gm equal to 0 when M and G will coincide. So very quickly we can remember like this: for stable Gm is positive, M is above G; for unstable Gm is negative and M is below G; and for neutral Gm equal to 0. Once we know the stable, then we are interested how much it is stable. So depending upon the value of here the metacentric height, which is equal to Gm, if this value is positive value and is a more positive value, it is more stable. Say for example for warship, this value of metacentric height will be taken as very high value, is normally 2.1 to 2.3 meter, where the airplane can land and can take off on the ship. Small size of boat, then always a chance of overturn. So GM matters here. So GM value here is given as BM minus BG. We can calculate BM as I divided by volume displaced. I you have to take as the moment of inertia above the liquid interface. Two standard geometry we'll discuss here. One is a cylinder is placed vertically. So we have this diameter equal to D, total length equal to L. Initially we apply the Archimedes principle, find the height h. Using the height h, then you can calculate OG. OG will be equal to L by 2. OB will be equal to h by 2. Then you need to calculate BM, which is I by V. So at this cross section we have moment of inertia is pi by 64 d to the power 4, and this is volume displaced. Volume displaced is this area, which is pi by 4 d square h. So using this we can calculate BM. Now this value of BM and GM we want to calculate here. So we have GM, which is equal to BM minus BG. If that is greater than 0, we can develop the condition for the diameter and height h. In the case of cone, the volume displaced here is 1/3 of the volume of cylinder. So you have to close this in a cylinder form, and you have to take the 1/3 of that one, that is the volume of cone. And in this case we have the CG will lie at 3 by 4. That care you have to take. In the case of cylinder it is 1 by 2, and in the case of cone it will be equal to 3 by 4. The video you are watching is from the app, which is the More Class app available on Google Store. And in this app we'll cover all subjects involved in mechanical engineering for GATE. Join the course directly from your mobile. The link is given here.